Good morning to all of you. We continue with the second part of this lecture, factors affecting plant growth and growth analysis. Yesterday, we have seen some objectives of this course or of this lecture and some terminology in brief. And then we tried to define what is growth. And we have seen a typical life cycle of an annual seed-bearing plant. And then stages of cellular growth, because this is the cellular growth which is responsible for overall growth of the crop or plants. And we have seen determinate and indeterminate growth habit. These are two types of growth pattern in our plants, annual plants. And then growth curve is sigmoid curve. And then measurement of plant growth, there are several parameters which are used to quantify the growth. How to quantify the growth, maybe dry matter, length, volume, size, etc. And then we have seen the need to study the growth. We want maximum returns, and to get that, we want optimum yields. And for optimum yield, we should have optimum growth. So this growth and yield can be manipulated by manipulating the factors that affect them. So factors, well, a great deal of factors are there. Many people have suggested different growth factors, and we have tried to classify them like this: internal genetic factor, external factor. External factor are three. In environmental, we have abiotic and biotic. So we were discussing abiotic factors. We have completed temperature. Genetic factors were also discussed. We were discussing temperature, the role of temperature, effect of temperature on growth of the crop. So you see, at all the growth stages of all the plants, you need certain optimum temperature. There may be minimum, there may be maximum, but in between that is your optimum temperature. C3 plants need less temperature, can grow in lower temperature than C4 plants. So requirement of temperature is high for C4 plants than C3 plants. And we have also seen differential uptake and concentration of nutrients in plant tops and roots is affected by temperature. In some cases, you can see that accumulation of nutrient is more in roots at lower temperature, and in some cases, it is more at higher temperature. So you can see this, these kind of differential response to temperature. And temperature has some role to play in soil pH. There can be two extremes, low temperature and high temperature. In both, the growth of the plant is affected. You have seen chilling and frost injury effect, low temperature. You have also seen because of temperature, we can have growing degree days, and how to calculate this. And we can modify the temperature, alteration of time in time of sowing. For example, if you have expect terminal heat, stress in wheat that may come in the month of March, middle March, later. If you expect that terminal heat may come this year, then you can plant the wheat crop little early. It can be planted at say around 20th of October in North India. It can be planted to avoid the heat stress during month of March or April. So manipulation in timing or sowing time can be done. Clay content can be increased if you get too much adverse effect of high temperature, particularly in soils which have more sand. By moisture, irrigation also we can manipulate temperature. Drainage is also good. Sometimes, particularly in hot months, mulching can moderate the soil temperature. It can bring it up or it can bring down also. Intercropping, you can, because of shade, you can reduce some temperature, and certain shade-loving crops are also there. They are grown. Now, after temperature, we go to water. Water is next important abiotic factor. So now, if you have any question up to now, in this factors affecting plant growth, it is time to discuss those points which are not clear to you. And anything you want to ask? Are you there, Shubham?
Yes, sir.
Any question?
No, sir.
Okay. I will provide you one chapter in Havlin book. Many of you know one book is there, Principles of Nutrient Management, Soil Fertility and Fertilizers by Havlin. And in that book, there used to be one chapter on growth and factors affecting it. But new versions for last 10 years, they do not have that chapter. But that chapter is very, very important and very well written to understand this subject. So I will share that chapter with you. Maybe shortly I will send you. So in detail, you can know about growth and factors affecting it. That is the best chapter available on the subject. So whatever is left unanswered or ununderstood, you can read from that chapter. Now we move on. Next abiotic factor is water. I think water is very, very important, and without water, no life is possible. If you remember, the first life on the earth appeared in water. So water is necessary for life, and it is also important source of hydrogen and oxygen for the plants. Manufacture of carbohydrates, photosynthesis, you know how much important water is. If water is not there, then photosynthesis cannot happen. Maintenance of hydration of the protoplasm. If your protoplasm dies, your cell dies. So it is necessary for hydration of the protoplasm. Movement of nutrients in soil. You will study in the next semester in soil fertility and nutrient management how nutrients are made available to the plant roots with the help of water. Then translocation of manufactured food within the plant system, it moves through water in liquid form. Moderation of temperature. Just now you have seen how temperature can be moderated by drainage and by applying light irrigation. And I just forgot, whenever you feel that there may be some adverse temperature, particularly low temperature, then it is advised to go for light irrigation in the evening time so that you can avoid the bad effect of lower temperature. Now, definitely moisture stress or water stress can be of two types. One is you have excess water and other is you are deficit. The water is deficit. And this is very qualitative. The availability of water is very qualitative with respect to the kind of plant. For example, for aquatic plants, you have aquatic plants or hydrophytes, you have mesophyte, and you have xerophytes. So for xerophytes, very low levels of water are required. I think you understand where these xerophytes grow. So in that case, little excess water can be stressful, can be very stressful. Similarly, you have aquatic plant hydrophytes where you can have three different categories of the plant. Some may be floating type, some may be submerged, some may be anchored to the soil and they are visible above the water. So there may be 3-4 kinds of hydrophyte plants. So suppose there is no water, then floating type will die first and then submerged and then anchored. So hydrophytes need too much of water and decreasing the quantity of water will put them in stress. But there is one group of plant which is your mesophyte. So mesophyte neither need too much of water and nor they require too less or too little of water like xerophytes. So for mesophytes, except rice, we mostly deal with mesophytic kind of plant in our crop production. So in that case also, there may be both extremes, excess water or lower water, deficit of the water, then the growth of the crop will be affected for mesophyte plants. So excess moisture is there. Suppose it is wheat or maize, which are mesophytic plant. So what will it do? It will reduce the soil aeration and supply of oxygen to the plant root is stopped. And within few days, these crop will die because of waterlogging. This mesophytic crop may die with the waterlogging of 4, 5, 6 days. So for example, sorghum, your pulse millet, they will definitely die within 3, 4 days. With poor aeration, the activities of beneficial microbes are also reduced. Water and the nutrient uptake is also affected by this excess water. Now, if there is deficit of moisture, certain symptoms can be observed. Certain characteristics are associated with moisture deficit. For example, closing of stomata, reduced transpiration, reduced photosynthesis, reduction in cell division and elongation, and finally reduced growth and crop yield. So one liner is that moisture deficit or excess will reduce the growth of the mesophytic kind of crops. Now you see response to nutrients is moisture dependent. So there is very good interaction between moisture or water availability and your crop response with respect to yield or growth. In this picture on x-axis, you can see it is nitrogen applied at 56, 112, 168, 224 kg per hectare. On y-axis, you have rapeseed yield. The yield, maybe you can consider it with respect to growth also, growth and yield. And you can see the two lines are there, two curves are there. The lower one you can see. This lower one is for rain-fed condition or dry land condition. So in dry land conditions, you can see the maximum seed yield of rapeseed may be somewhere around 850 or something like that. So you can see yields are lower. If you see the curve on the top, which is represented by squares, and it is under irrigated condition. So you can see under irrigated conditions, you get response, very good response. The doses are same. The doses of nitrogen are same. And here you can obtain up to say 1900 or somewhere around 2000 kilograms per hectare of the yield. So yield is much higher under irrigated condition. That means response to nitrogen was high when you have water, assured water supply. If you do not have sufficient water, you need not to apply these high doses. So that is why the message is that if your conditions are dry land conditions, moisture availability is low, so rate of fertilizer applications are low. So because these are having interaction. Now, question comes, why irrigation has increased the yield in one case and the rain-fed condition has or dry land condition resulted in lower yield with the same level of nitrogen. With the same level of nitrogen, you are getting higher yield when you get sufficient moisture. In another case, you are getting lower yields when there is no good supply of water. What is the reason for it? Anybody can tell me. Yeah, Subrata.
Yes, sir. Due to moisture stress in dryland condition, plant cannot utilize available nitrogen or available any fertilizer efficiently. And in case of irrigated condition, there are optimum condition of moisture throughout the life cycle of plant, and plant get optimum quantity of nutrient through the water channel.
Very good. Very good. Actually, this water is playing important role. Water is also enhancing the growth. As such, the role, first we need to see as such, the role of water. You have to plant in, for the time being, just forget about the nutrient. Just the role of water is also important. So in one case you have plenty of water, in another case you do not have that. So first thing is that water will have direct effect on the plant growth. Second is that it increases nutrient availability, transport, uptake. That is important. Very good. See another picture. This picture is on protein content in grain and moisture supply. Means in general, if you decrease the moisture supply, the protein content increases. The protein content increases. With the increase in level of nitrogen, protein content also increases. This is important. There are 2 points from this graph you can see. So this is the case of barley. This is for cereal plants. Cereal plants, you can see on x-axis you have available soil water. If you move from left to right on the x-axis, the water availability is increasing. The water availability is increasing as you move from 5, 10, 15, 20 centimeter available water. And if you see y-axis, y1 axis, it is the yield kg per hectare. On y2 axis, on the right side, it is the protein percentage starting from 10, 15, 20. So this is your protein percentage on the right axis. So now you see, first you see the yield, how the yield is going up. See the lines which are going up from left side. So you can see maximum yields are there at 180 kg nitrogen, and then 120, then 160 and 0. So you can see as you increase the nitrogen level up to 180 in this case for barley, the yield is increasing. And another point is that if you see the water availability, because water availability is increasing towards right side, then you can also see the yields are increasing. So water supply is increasing the yield, and increased nitrogen supply is also increasing the yield. Now see other lines from the left side to the right side. They are falling down. They are falling down. You got 4 lines, and they are falling down. So they are representing the protein content. So you can see the protein content is highest when you have nitrogen 180 across the different supply of water. This is one. Second point is that as you move right, as you increase the water availability, the protein content is declining. So you can see maximum protein content is at the starting point, where on the bottom you can see written 0.5. So you can see, if you see this line, y1 axis, so here is the maximum protein content, or here is the lowest water supply. So as you move towards right, the line falls and the protein content declines. The message in brief is, as you increase the water supply to the barley, the protein content declines. And as you increase the water supply to the barley, the response to nitrogen increases with respect to yield. And also highest level is giving you highest yield and highest protein content. So now question comes, if you could understand it, now question comes, why it is happening that under short supply, water deficit, you get more protein, and under abundant supply of water, adequate supply of water, you are getting less percentage of protein in the barley grain. Yeah, anybody can come forward. Tell me the reason. शर्मा जी पानी दे दो थोड़ा. Yeah, Prakash. Anybody can tell me. You got the question. Yeah, Nimisha. Vishal. Are you there or not? Nobody is there. Krishna.
Present, sir.
Then I should stop talking. If nobody is listening to me, then what is fun of taking lecture?
Sir, is there any dilution effect?
Yes, yes, it is. So why you are shy? why, why are you shy about it? This is the dilution effect. And in this semester, you will also study uh, this inverse yield nitrogen law. Did somebody teach you that law, inverse?
Yes, sir. More the vegetative growth, less will be the nitrogen content.
You understand that law?
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah, that law comes into, but I am surprised that many of the students are not there in the class. They have just joined and they have run away. Shruti, I'm taking your attendance now. Shruti, are you
Yes,
present?
sir, we are here, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm present, sir.
Okay, okay. Deepak,
I'm here.
Manish,
Yes, sir.
so you,
Yes,
you
sir.
all should be there. That's fine, that's fine. Now we move on. Water stress and nutrient availability is
Sir, is
important.
it applicable for all the crops or for only barley crop?
No, no, it is not applicable to all the crops. It is applicable to crops actually which need less water. Water requirement is relatively lower. Means which can
Sir, according to inverse yield nitrogen law, there, I think this is applicable for all the crops.
no. Actually, there are a lot of exceptions to the inverse yield nitrogen law. Somebody will teach you. Lot of exceptions are there, and this kind of first thing is, for example, this kind of water availability and quality is not applicable to rice. It is not applicable to rice because it always require more than feed capacity most of the time. So there is very little changes in proteins we have seen, because if you go on reducing the water supply, you will not have rice at all. So in case of rice, it does not hold true. It holds true in case of wheat, in case of barley, in case of maize, uh, and up to some extent maybe in case of pulse millet, etc. But it is not applicable for those crops which fundamentally require higher water. See the case of wheat. Wheat is happy. Wheat in generally cannot be grown under dry land conditions. As such, it can be grown under rain-fed conditions. You need at least 1 or 2 or 3 rainfall. Then you can succeed in growing wheat. So why the wheat of Madhya Pradesh is in demand? Madhya Pradesh wheat or MP wheat, because it is containing more protein. MP wheat, it requires less water. They have got some varieties which require less water, and their growth is also not that big, like we get growth in high-yielding variety under irrigated conditions. So it holds true in case of wheat. In case of barley, at least, this is true. The protein content increases as you decrease the water supply. Now, why water is important for nutrient availability? You know, diffusion, mass flow, and root interception, contact exchange, water has a role. If there is no water, then nutrient availability will be reduced. High or low water stress can be there, as I already told you. Flooding, excess water. What happens? Reduced oxygen supply and reduced root growth. So uptake of even water is affected. There is too much of water and plant is not able to take up that water because of shortage of oxygen. Excess or deficit moisture, reduced activity of soil organism. In either case, if it is too much or too low, microbial growth is affected, and high moisture may induce certain diseases. Now, can we modify this element, this moisture? Yes, we can modify it by irrigation, by drainage, by mulching, and by using anti-transpirants under dry land conditions. Now, next is your light. So, it is ultimate limitation. It is necessary for photosynthesis. This is the most important role of light. And quality. Quality, few studies have been done. Quality means colors. Difficult to manipulate under field conditions. So we got 7 different colors of light, and the photosynthesis rates are different in different light. So which color of light has maximum photosynthesis rate? You got 7 colors.
Red color.
Red color. Sure. Anybody
Yes,
else?
sir, it is red color. Yes, sir, red color.
Red color. Okay. And least?
The green color.
Green color. So actually it is not possible under field condition to create red color light and grow your plant in red color light. That is not practically possible or feasible, but experimental level people have done it. So it is not possible, and duration and intensity is very, very important, and latitude and climate affect the light available to the earth, establishes the ultimate yield level. So particularly the light intensity is very, very important. Like you go temperature, similarly optimum light intensity is already defined for all kind of plants. Some plants grow in high light intensity and they can increase their photosynthesis up to certain level or limit of light intensity. And some cannot tolerate even medium levels of light intensity. They like to grow in under shade conditions. So light intensity is very, very important. And if I ask you, what do we mean by light intensity? So simply just 4 words you can say. Intensity is like brightness. Means the brightness level of the light is your intensity and is measured as the rate at which light energy is delivered to a unit of surface or energy per unit time per unit area. So this is how light intensity can be measured. So the unit is Langley. The Langley is a unit of energy distribution over an area, also called as density of heat. It is used to measure solar radiation or insolation, incoming solar radiation. The unit was named after Samuel P. Langley in 1947. So this Langley is the unit of light intensity. 1 Langley is 1 thermochemical calorie per square centimeter or 41,840 joule per meter square or 11.622 watts hours per square meter. So this Langley is equivalent to these much of energy units. Now see the light intensity, effect of light intensity on photosynthesis. On x-axis you have light intensity, that is Langley per minute, 0.51, 1.52. On y-axis you have photosynthesis in terms of milligram carbon dioxide fixed per decimeter square per hour. So you can see that maize is happy with higher light intensity. Its growth or photosynthesis is at the top. But you see orchard grass, it does as you increase the light intensity, its photosynthesis decreases. And see the oak maple require hardly 1 Langley per minute light intensity. If you increase, its photosynthesis will go down. So you can see maize is happy up to 2 Langley, and beyond which data is not given. So you can see that the different crops require different light intensities. See this evenly on the y-axis you have heat, this light intensity Langley per 15 minute intercepted 5, 10, 15, 20, and on y-axis you have photosynthesis, and the data pertains to leaf area index of maize, I think, of maize crop. So in this case, you can see that it is linearly increasing. In all the cases, whether you have lower leaf area index. So in this picture, you can see there are different leaf area indices, 1.8, 3.3, 4.4. So under all the 3 cases, if you increase the light intensity, the photosynthesis rate increases. But the increase is more when you have higher leaf area index. You can see it is represented by squares, and then 3.3 by rounds or circles, hollow circles, and this 1.8 leaf area index by solid circles. So solid circles are on the lower side, and you can see responses up to 15 or up to 15. Or if your leaf area index is lower, so the response is up to 10, means up to lower level of light intensity. But if you have LAI 4.4, this response can go up to the last level. So that means lower the leaf area index, lower light intensity can work here. But if you have higher leaf area index, you need higher levels of light intensity. Now, can we manipulate it? Yes, we can grow certain crops under shaded conditions, under agroforestry systems, and we can reduce the light intensity. And some people use nets. Sometimes nets are used for light, for stopping or controlling the light, for managing the light. Nets are also used. Now, light intensity and duration are important for crop growth and development. Photosynthesis is very, very important, and it is affected by light intensity. Photosynthesis is stopped at high light intensity depending on species. Plants differ in light requirement, just you have seen in one picture, and certain seeds also require a light to break the dormancy, case of lettuce. And there are certain photomorphogenic responses. Photomorphogenic responses with respect to light. So you can go through it: phototropism, photonasty, photoperiodism, photomorphogenesis. So it is your job to understand these terms. They are related to plant physiology, and you must learn these terms. Similarly, you must see the role of photomorphogenesis in phenotypic development, phenological development of plants. Photoperiodism, many of you know what is short day plant, what is long day plant, day length. So it is based upon the duration of the light. Plants are classified into short day plant, long day plant, and day neutral plant. Please go through it. So next factor is your wind. Wind is your abiotic factors, and many times it is considered good, and many times it is considered bad. Depending upon the speed of the wind, you can say it good or bad. So it has both kind of effects. Sometimes it is helpful in increasing the plant growth, and sometimes it can reduce the plant growth. So light wind is necessary to replenish CO2 near the plant. Suppose your photosynthesis is going on and wind is not blowing, then the carbon dioxide around the plant will become lower. So to bridge the gap, you need wind so that CO2 can come from farther places near to the plant. So sometimes light wind is necessary to replenish the CO2 near the plant. Carries oxygen away from the plant. If you need oxygen, then it is the job of wind to distribute that oxygen produced by the plant. So both way it is helpful. It can provide CO2 to the plant and provide oxygen to us. Less wind, less evaporation. This is also important. Less water requirement. So if your wind speeds are high, then you can have more evaporation. I think being a student in agronomy or soil science, you must have studied factors affecting water requirement. So in that you will see somewhere the wind is also there. If it is typhoon, very speedy winds, then they can uproot your plant, lodging can be there. So definitely typhoon will reduce the growth. Wind breaks minimize the damage. You can use wind breaks to minimize the damage by winds. Dusting affects rate of photosynthesis. So this is bad. Dusting can be there by the winds. So it can reduce the rate of photosynthesis, may blow away or bring pests and diseases. Again, it can be beneficial and it can be harmful. because sometimes it can take away the insect pests and disease from the plants, and sometimes it can bring them near to the plant. So both positive and negative effect can be there for the wind. May interfere with farm operations like spraying of fertilizers or spraying of pesticides. May aid in pollination. So it has positive role also, like it can help in pollination, dispersal, seed dispersal, etc. Wind has a mixed role. Plus and minuses are both there. Now, composition of atmosphere. So if you remember, plants wants WA and TS. So in that, A is for atmosphere or air. So you know now air is getting rich in carbon dioxide. So CO2 concentrations are increasing in the air and global warming issues are coming up. So people have done some experiments and they have found that our crop plants, how much is the CO2 concentration in the environment, atmosphere right now?
Around 400 ppm.
Around 400 ppm. So what will happen?
410.
410.
10.
Yeah. So for somewhere around 410 is there ppm. So people may have already done some work under greenhouse conditions, and they say that plant growth is best at 1000 ppm CO2 concentration. Also, we know that it is accompanied by increase in temperature and respiration also increase, and we can lose some carbohydrate. But if we take it standalone this CO2, so it can be 1000 ppm, and reduction in growth at 3000 to 5000 ppm or more. Means if you increase beyond 1000 ppm, you will get your this photosynthesis rate reduced. And there can be certain toxic substances from the atmosphere that, like ozone, can come to your plants, or your sulfur dioxide in as acid, sulfuric acid through acid rain. So many atmospheric factors can affect the plant growth, their gases or toxic substances or acid rain. Now, biotic factors, I think this group understand these weeds, insect pests, disease, domestic and wild animals. They can reduce the growth of the crops. I will not go into the detail how weeds reduce the growth of the plant, how insect pests. I think you understand that they eat the plant. Sometimes they eat the plant, they change the color of the plant. Sometimes plants are shorter and so on. So biotic factors definitely reduce the growth of the crops. Now, management factors are your all agronomic factors that affect the growth of the crop. You understand role of tillage, selection of variety, seed quality, seed treatment with seed-borne disease, for seed-borne disease, seed rate, disease insect, weeds, crop rotation, soil erosion, organic matter, water management. So all these factors, management factors, can affect the growth. If I ask you how this soil organic matter will affect the growth of the crops, what will be your answer? How soil organic matter will affect the growth of the crops?
Organic matter as the main ingredients who binds the soil particle, and due to the binding nature, it holds more nutrient and then more water, and it will be available for the longer periods of crop growth. So that's why the plant takes the nutrient and the water for a long time.
Fantastic. So this is indirect benefit, and direct benefit you can add. You can add one more point here, that it directly gives you nutrients also. After mineralization or decomposition, it gives you nutrients also, and other roles are its indirect role, like your improvement in soil structure, aggregation, etc. Very nice. And if I ask students how this crop rotation can affect the growth of the crops, someone can come forward.
Sir, crop rotations, like in the cropping system, if we include the legume crop, then legume binds the nitrogen in the soil, and the different rooting system of the different crops. Some are very deep and some shallow. The nutrient uptake from the different soil layers, it will be very good for the different crop. And the nutrient recycling, the different leaves of the crop are fall on the soil, and that's why the nutrient is recycled.
Fantastic, fantastic. And again, as my job, I want to add, because he has answered very rightly, but that is one aspect related to nutrient management. Other aspect is that this can help in reducing the
The
weeds.
reduced monophagous
Insect
pest.
pest attack will be also less.
Very good, because time was less, but you understand role of crop rotation for plant nutrition, disease management, insect pests, and weed management, and also in soil erosion, prevention of soil erosion. You have role of crop rotation. So crop rotation have 4 major roles in the nutrition, plant nutrition, insect pest management, disease management, weed management, and other one is soil erosion prevention or controlling soil erosion. Very good. Now, socioeconomic factors are also there, like lack of availability of input, seeds, fertilizer, pesticides. Many times because of money problem or several issues in our country, I don't want to speak here. Many times farmers do not get input in time. So those again, jugaad lagta hai. Here also jugaad chalta hai. So those farmers who have jugaad can get fertilizer. Those who don't get jugaad, they don't get fertilizer or seed. Anyway, lack of credit facilities, inadequate information on prices of inputs, and produce poor marketing system, land holding size, educational background. So these are socio-economic factors. Farmers who can overcome these factors can produce better crop. And farmers who cannot overcome these kind of problems will not have resources, will not have inputs to have better growth of the crop. So actually the growth of the plant varies because of these socio-economic factors. Some farmers can afford expensive inputs. Some farmers cannot afford. Some farmers can afford credit facility. Some cannot afford. So also poor marketing system is there. So they will have indirectly, they will affect the growth of the crop. This, like you see, management factors affect the growth of the crop similarly. So that is another topic, plant growth analysis. I am just giving you notes. However, somebody may have already taught you this subject. So these kind of slides may be helpful for you to get more clarity on this subject. Whatever is written here in these slides, it is hopefully without mistake. Number one. Number two is that it is from the best sources, authentic sources available. So you can go through this part, and thank you very much. Now your questions.